What's going on, everyone? Exo Ducati Exo 603 here. Yes, I am back, part of the Ducati family. We have officially taken delivery of the new Panigale V4 Lamborghini bike. Lamborghini. As you can see, I lined it up next to H2 Carbon, and I tell you, this is why I envisioned to have them sitting next to each other. I'm gonna put them back there on the stands. Yeah, the R1's over there, R1M. It needs some love. We're working on that. But here it is, what y'all been waiting for. I tell you, it is such a, what's the word for it? I can't think of it. Eye candy. It is so, like, you could sit down and just take in every technical detail of this gloss carbon everywhere. It is truly amazing to see all the gloss carbon. And honestly, this is why I got this bike. As you all know, I had the M1K because the gloss carbon. I had two of them actually. I sold the one, and then I recently sold the other. But you know, it wasn't limited produced like this bike. It did not have a plate right there. So now this one has a plate, and it is now officially here. And as you can see, I don't know, maybe y'all can decide which is better, the H2 Carbon or the Panigale V4 Lamborghini bike by Ducati. What is better? I mean, honestly, you know, now that I see these bikes both side by side, it's truly amazing to see them because, you know, these are totally two different bikes, you know. Granted, this bike has 300 wheel horsepower, and is it's a crazy bike. You know, you get on this thing and you feel like you're gonna break it because it's so jerky, so torquey, you know, so loud and so aggressive. You know, it is truly a phenomenal bike. But then you come here and, you know, this is the thing about Ducati. Ducati has always, you know, stood for, you know, unique, exclusivity, you know, limited. And, you know, yes, we have, you know, the V4, V4S, but when you get into the limited bikes, this is Ducati. This is what they are about. And, you know, this bike, there's one aspect to it. Yes, you have the details, the, you know, fine lines, everything, but also too, this bike is not, it does not just look pretty. It is actually a weapon on the streets or on the track, which is, you know, let that sink in. You know, it's going to perform way above any bike. It's going to perform better than the R1M. Honestly, seeing them, like I said, side by side, two totally different bikes. And you know, I want to say I'm blessed to have both these here. Although I will say this now, I did have to make the decision. Now, as you all know, I do have another H2 that is being built. But I think I've made the decision to let this beautiful H2 Carbon go. And that hurts me because I love it. It has the carbon top fairing there. You know, we did the carbon front fender, carbon winglets, carbon there, all the carbon in the dash, everywhere, the air intake, all the carbon here, carbon on the bottom there, carbon here, you know. And but then, you know, and that's the thing with Kawasaki, you know, this isn't a limited production bike, although they do make it limited numbers. But still, again, when you think about these bikes, and per se, I should say this, I'm not a content creator. I am not here making money off these bikes. This is truly just a passion and love of mine of just having bikes and being able to share with you all. One of the things that, you know, everyone kept asking me, do you have a YouTube? Do you have Instagram? And one of the things that I found is that I wanted to be authentic in what I put out there for you all to see. It was not about, you know, trying to show off or do any of that stuff. It was about, you know, for instance, one of the things is, you know, letting you all know that a regular 1000cc bike like that is not going to smoke a 2000 horsepower car. This, on the other hand, totally different. But, now whether 2000, probably be 16, 1700. Although the torque is pretty crazy on that. So I'm not entirely sure what that would go up against. But, the thing is that these bikes per se are investments. And, one of the things is, as you know, with the caliber of bikes that I do buy, they are high quality. They're the top of the manufacturer. The R1M, perfect example. The M1Ks, perfect example. The 1299 FE, perfect example. Now, of course, this is Kawasaki. Now, of course, the equivalent to this would be the H2R, but I didn't want to get an H2R because it's not street legal, where this is street legal. So I got the H2 Carbon. Now, of course, Kawasaki, I've heard there's going to be tapering back the horsepower from stock due to emissions. Now, of course, I'm sure you could fix that with a tune, with building it or whatever, but that bike is going to become more rare. Kawasaki will eventually do away with the H2s. It's only a matter of time. So that bike will eventually go up in value. It will. Whereas we look at this bike, and this bike is a limited production bike, this will always hold value. Now, if I do ride it, which I do plan to ride it a little bit, not put tons of miles on it, but, this bike will hold value, when I go to resell it, if I do, or maybe I'll just keep it, it will, give me back most of my money. And that's the thing, instead of, and this is the thing, as you all may know, I am an investor. So one of the big things about being an investor, and technically, we all are investors, but we all just don't see it that way. But when you start seeing it that way, you'll start to really understand life and the perspective of it. Like, for instance, it's an investment for you to go to work 9 to 5. You really don't realize it, but you're hurting your health, and when you start to think smarter, you're like, why am I wasting my time and health? I'm getting beat up, depression, all this stuff. Why am I wasting my time working at 9 to 5? And then you start to want to think smarter. Well, let me look at higher paying jobs. What do I need to get there to make life easier? And, and that's the thing. We're all investors, and we need to start seeing our lives like that. And when we do, our life will be so much better. We'll start living within our means, making sure everything is covered. All bases are covered. And like I said, where we have this bike here, like I said, this is an investment. This is, it's not a content bike. We're not going to be making money off of it. Could you? Yeah, you could very well. But, like I said, I enjoy bikes since I was a kid, quads, dirt bikes, street bikes. So for me, this is just a passion. So having this is awesome. Coming back into Ducati with a limited production bike. I know now that the bikes are getting out there, everyone wants it. Everyone's like, oh, the carbon and everything. And they see, and the thing is, let me tell you, when you see this bike in person, it does not, you have to see it in person for it to do it justice of all of the specifications of it. And one of the other options I could have done is do the uptail exhaust out the back. But the problem with that is I feel like the way they designed this, everything is just working together, all the intricacies, all the carbon. And if you do the uptail exhaust, it gets rid of this. But yes, you do have the carbon piece here, but I feel like this just flows together. And I know some people will say the underbody exhaust is more Ducati too. So some people, they see uptail, they're like, why even? Now, of course, it's performance-based, but still at the end of the day, I do not want to touch this bike. I think it's perfect as it is. It's a collector bike. Do I see myself holding on to it for a while? Yes, I do. Do I see keeping it forever till I die? No. But, the thing is that I know my money is safe in it, whereas somebody else will want this at some point in time. It's Ducati's first gloss carbon bike. It is Ducati's first Panigale with Lamborghini collaboration. And, it really is such a unique bike. And like I said, I did have to make the tough decision to let this go. The other option I have is keeping this and letting go of the Ultra bike. But I think y'all are going to love the Ultra bike. We did a lot of special stuff to it that I think y'all are going to love way more than this H2. So I can't wait for y'all to see that. That should be coming in the coming months or a month or two. But yeah, tonight is all about the Lamborghini Ducati V4 Panigale. It is, such an amazing bike. And like I said, coming back into Ducati, this is the way you want to come back into Ducati with this bike. And as you know, for y'all that follow me since I started, I used to go by Exo Ducati, and I changed it after I sold it and went with Exo 603. But, the thing is, at the end of the day, Ducati has always been in my heart. As some of y'all may know, my wife is an Italian citizen. And, honestly, it's awesome to have this and, see it from Italy. And, she can be proud of her heritage of being Italian, and, if you're from the Northeast, Italian culture is embedded in your blood, at least for me, because when you're raised in that era, of, everything was Italian, and you respected the culture, respected the people, respected the heritage. So truly amazing to have this bike. Shout out to Tampa Bay Ducati, for getting me this. I remember when I put the deposit down on it, they said, yeah, we can get you that. And I said, okay, let's do it. I thought it and I was like, yeah. Now, of course, I will not lie. I did have, I did have drawbacks, setbacks. I did think about it and, I had doubts about getting this bike. But after I went up, and I'll tell you this, be 100% honest, I went up there without the intention to actually buy it. I went up there with the intention to actually not buy this bike. But, when I walked in, I saw it, and I looked at it, and I'll tell you this, for happy marriage, happy wife, happy life, I checked in with my wife and, told her, and she said, if it makes you happy, get it. And, I got her approval. And like I said, and this should be stated, in life, especially the era of life that we live in, marriage is a important thing because it's important to have communication and to be able to communicate with each other and, want to make each other happy. And so I'm thankful that she allowed me to get this. But with all that being said, like I said, this is such a unique bike. It's so beautiful. Now you all can see it, although the light is not too best because the light's a little back. But yeah, it's like I said, you can see the gloss carbon, and here, that's a better shot. You see it. It's just so amazing. And have the Lamborghini badge. And I tell you real quick, I'm a bike lover. I tell you, I would prefer this over a Huracan, prefer this over a SVJ. Bikes are just, if it's in your blood, bikes are bikes. You don't care about a car. Now, don't get me wrong. I love cars. I grew up around cars. My grandfather raced cars, everything. So, the thing is, though, bikes are for me. And that's just how it is. And then also, too, when we go to turn it on, I'm not going to start it, but you can see in the dash, we have the number 540 out of 630 in the right, which is really cool. And we also have the image of the bike. We also have all the settings, 1 mile display, which is really awesome to see on a bike, and especially a collector bike. But like I said, I will be riding this out to an event actually tomorrow, Cars and Coffee. So we'll take it there, but I won't be riding it much. But yeah, the dash is so much cleaner. They really did an amazing job. Also, too, the top here is carbon fiber, which is pretty crazy. I thought that was really awesome addition in there. And then on top of that, the screen is wider, which is really nice. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the older V4 and V4Ss or even the 1299s, but the screen is smaller. Definitely 1299s, more dated. It's nothing like this. So to have this screen on this bike is truly phenomenal. And just to show you the difference here, we go to the H2 Carbon, and we'll put the key in and show you all that. And you can see they've updated this bike, but remember, this bike has not been updated in a long time. And you see we have the dash there and the RPM, but it's pretty basic. It's when you're riding this, it took me back to riding a ZX10, with how basic it is. You'd think they would extend the screen, but like I said, this bike, they haven't really changed much. They've kept it more so of a unique to its, I guess you could say, kept it, from its base principle of how they made this bike. So yeah, this is, such an amazing time of my life to be able to enjoy this. The Rizoma gas tank, as you know, with the gas tank you have the special keys there for the unhook the gas tank. Really cool. We got the Ducati brake levers, which these are really nice. Like I said, Brembo, master cylinders, I think those are. And then, like I said, though, it is just truly phenomenal. You know, no instance to upgrade the rear sets, although you could put the Gillies on it. Like I do run all the bikes. Actually, the H2 does not have the Gillies set. The R1M does, though, which are really nice on a bike. So I highly recommend them. I have them on the Busa as well. I had them on the V4S. These are really nice, really beautiful, really comfortable to ride with, so I would recommend them. And they have the carbon here. But yeah, so these are two of the most magnificent bikes. Tomorrow we'll be getting the Busa back, so I'll do a video with the H2, the Ducati, and the Busa. I know tomorrow, Cars and Coffee, I'll probably film a video. I may film a video tonight because I may be going to the track with the H2. Not to run it or anything, but just to go chill for a little bit. But yeah, as you can see, we have the H2 Carbon and the Ducati Panigale Lamborghini bike, V4. So, all that being said, thank you all for following, watching. Truly amazing bike. I do know, I will say this too, this bike is a limited production bike. So all the allocations are out, which truly makes this a phenomenal bike. You know, one of the things I will say about this bike, I know, you know, when you're dealing with Ducati clientele, you know, every Ducati owner has a different perspective. And Ducati has been putting a lot out there, you know, from the replica bikes last year to, you know, their SP2, you know, they gave us a lot last year, but it's like nothing like this. Nothing superb like this, so unique. But you know, we did see Ducati drop last year to the Italia bike, which has the same engine as this. It's actually the same dry clutch, everything pretty much the same except the undertail exhaust. But they did make it more limited at 163. Do I wish this bike was a little more limited? Yes, I do. But I do believe that, you know, per se, most of the people who got this bike, when they look at it, it's more of an art piece, which they're setting up in their living rooms or just sitting in the garage. So yes, so honestly, to have this bike, like I said, I'll ride it a little bit so you all get to see it. Like I say, you probably won't see much content of it being made, but at the end of the day, it is a Ducati. It is in collaboration with Ducati and Lamborghini, so who wouldn't want to put miles on this thing? But at the end of the day, thankful to have it. Praise God. Thank my Savior, Lord Christ Jesus. You know, and also too, we got the brake here, carbon brakes, the air ducts for it, to cool the brakes down. So, and also too, I'll leave y'all with this nice front view of the daytime running headlights. Look how menacing that thing looks. That looks so menacing. And then we go here with the H2 Carbon. Which one you all taking? I'm really curious. Answer in the comments, which one would you all rather take? The Ducati Panigale V4 Lamborghini bike or the Kawasaki H2 Carbon? Built by Boomsoon HQ. Again, two totally different bikes. Two unique, very unique bikes. They are definitely in leagues of their own. But I'm very curious to see which one would you all pick. And with all that being said, remember, y'all, peace, love, ride safe. Have a wonderful day and night wherever you are. Remember, the world is as evil as it is. No need to be evil, hateful, spiteful, jealous. None of that stuff. Just be positive and loving. And also, too, always be nice. You know, actually, I'll tell you real quick before I end this video. I was on my way home, and two bikers rode by me. Later down the road, I see them pulled over. We were in backed up traffic, and I saw them. I said, let me pull over. I was on the phone. I said, let me get off the phone. And I pulled over, got out, and walked up to them and said, hey, everything okay? And they're like, their bike shut off. And I helped them push the bike to safety. And, you know, and the thing is that is what we need in this world, you know. And understand, everyone has stuff going on. Maybe you have to be somewhere. But, you know, the sacrifice of being able to help somebody is what we need more in this world. So, with all that being said, leave you with this lovely view of the Ducati Lamborghini Panigale V4. And y'all, EXO out. Later.